Marilyn, so grateful for you being here and sharing your story. Now, this is all about ongoing changes. And so instead of me introducing you, because you've done so much, NBC, MTV, you've been an actor, you've written books, and you do so much for community as well as teaching people so that they can own their higher self and know who they really are. Please, welcome.
Okay. Thanks. I'm hoping that people identify with, I'll do it real short, but pieces of my story so that they feel encouraged to take the risks themselves because it's all about risk taking. So I grew up in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, very traumatic household. I'm sure a lot of people relate to that, a lot of trauma. And always wanted to be an actress, but definitely was not encouraged to do that. So I went into college to study accounting because I didn't know what else to do. My brother was like, no, study television communication. And I did that. And I interned at MTV and got very lucky that I got a job there right away. So I started working at MTV in the heyday when it was really a lot of fun. And in my travels of television production, I wasn't fully happy or feeling whole. I knew there was something wrong. And so I started doing some soul searching and I went off to NBC Olympics. I went off to different jobs. And while I was doing those jobs, I recognized that dream of wanting to be an actress again. It started becoming prevalent in my life through therapy and everything, all the work I was doing. So I started doing improv acting. And my acting coach was like, you can get work as an actress. You need to go do that. And so I did. I went and left NBC Olympics. Greatest job, such a great job. MTV was amazing too. And I got the lead in an off-Broadway play right away. And that was amazing. And that started my acting career. And then I started having I always had psychic experience since I was little, but I started having really huge spiritual experiences with seeing deceased people and hearing things and knew I wasn't going crazy because I was in therapy. So I wasn't diagnosed with any kind of psychoses or anything. And I had to learn how to work with it. And somebody said to me, learn how to work with your psychic skills because it'll move your life along. And it completely changed everything. It made it really rich and colorful. And I discovered more avenues, more depth in myself than I ever thought was even there. And I became a full-time psychic medium, teaching people also how to use their skills. And really my platform was teaching people how to get in touch with spiritual guidance and their intuition. And I wrote a book, and during that process, even I started switching even more. Like I stopped doing readings. I only do them every now and then because I wanted people to discover the answers on their own. I did not want them to depend on me. And now I'm helping women who are retiring from a career, or maybe their kids left home and they're feeling ready for that next chapter. They know there's something in them they're meant to get out into the world. And so I help these women and sometimes men grow into their mission and own it and trust their intuition and move forward in it. And that's what I'm doing today.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you. Are you finding that there are more and more people giving themselves the privilege or the allowance to actually move into something different? Because I remember, 20 odd years ago, it was like if you taught yoga, you must have had two heads or something, or you couldn't have been, educated or whatever. And now there seems to be this movement towards more people finding out who they really are rather than going with, well, this is what you're meant to do. You've got a degree in this, so that's what you should be working at. You shouldn't be doing this. What's wrong with you? What are you going to do with your family? How are you going to feed them? And you think, whoa.
So true. Yeah, I feel like with the consciousness today and the self-awareness, and I feel like it's the self-awareness more than anything. People are done with being unhappy. They're done with not doing what they came here to do. They're done with not listening to themselves. And they are exploring the depths of who they are. And I believe that there's more available to us. I don't know how old you are. I'm 60. And when I first started opening up to these gifts, how old are you?
66.
Oh, see? So when I started coming into my psychic mediumship work and really embracing it, the internet wasn't around the way that it is today. So we really I had to go to a bookstore like the library behind you, and there was like a small shelf of books. So I had to learn how to develop it. And I think people now are so much more aware and they're not shutting down that truth inside of them. So I agree with you totally. And it's more accepted.
It's more accepted. Do you think it's more accepted because there are more males coming into the industry?
More men are coming into? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. So what do you think about that? I'm curious.
Well, back in, as you were saying, pre-internet and everything else, it was much more difficult to actually have this kind of conversation with guys because they looked at you as if, you were missing a few screws. And then it became a little bit more au fait. Like, for example, I used to work with a guy, he was electrical and instrumentation, so very left brain. And I said to him, come and do a yoga class. Yoga? You got to be kidding me, because he was a gym junkie, so.
Yeah.
Meet him 14 years later, he'd come to a few of my classes. And what ended up happening, he became a yoga teacher.
Look at that. Oh my goodness. Wow.
So there was this transition. I used to work on sites, what we call here fly in, fly out. So you go to a work site that's completely isolated and you build a plant. There would have been about 400 or 500 guys mainly. And they were coming and doing yoga with me. I was offering it to them.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I think so, but I feel like I don't know that more men in it is giving women permission, at least from where I'm standing. That's not what you're saying, huh?
No. I'm saying that because there are more males or more guys in the industry, that more guys are giving themselves the okay
permission
to start looking at life differently. Yeah, permissions.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. And I think that they're more comfortable with revealing their spiritual side, their sensitive sides, because it's more accepted. It's more revered, actually, especially by women. We need it. So it's really beautiful to see.
Yeah. And with LGBTQ plus,
yeah,
there seems to be more permission, allowance, that it's okay to be, with your animus.
Yes.
To allow that to come out.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like, okay, moving on.
Well, we all had our roles, right? We were dictated our roles of what we had to play and who we had to be. You started out that conversation with who we were told to be and who we weren't allowed to be. And now we're able to write it more. The identity shift is pretty huge that people are having, especially at this stage in life. I feel like there's a huge identity shift happening.
Yeah. We get to a certain stage that we don't care anymore. It's like, take me as I am or don't take me. That's fine. Whereas before, as you said, we were playing that role. And if we didn't play the role, you were out.
Yep. Yeah.
It's like, we don't need you. You don't fit in.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's much more accepted. So it'd be nice if people accepted the fact that we're all human and we didn't segregate one another by saying, oh, you're from there or you're from there or you're a native to this country. We're a native, all parts of the world.
Yeah.
And as these people start to open up and get into their higher selves, it's a matter of starting to trust their intuition. So you're finding that it's easier to get them to start trusting who they are or the process that they need to go through?
I do, but I also don't think I attract people that aren't open to it, in all honesty. But what's interesting about that question is I'm a big tennis player. And tennis players are not necessarily the most spiritual people. We're more very like, type A personalities. And I tend to, I'm a big part of the community. I have a big community I'm around, and I don't usually reveal to people what I do. They tend to find out. So, and it's not from embarrassment. It's that I don't want to get into the conversation about it on the tennis court. I just want to play tennis. And what I have found is that when people find out what I do, they're interested. They want to know more. People I would never expect to be interested in it. So I believe that I think it's much more acceptable. I think people are much more into learning about their intuition and using it. I feel like they need it as a navigational tool. And so I do think that one, I attract mostly people that are already aware of that conversation, that language. But I also feel like most people are just looking for something else. They're looking to do this life in a different way. And that's why I feel like it's such an important tool and they want it. I hope that makes sense.
It does. It makes complete sense because I'm a great believer of planting the seed and watching it grow.
Yeah.
It's those words that you use and you think, oh, yeah. Like my daughter, when she was transitioning, she'd just finished her first year of high school. And when she was younger, I said to her, girls' schools are much better for girls because it's a much more giving environment. You don't have to worry about what the boys are thinking or being shy because you don't want to say something for looking silly or being intelligent. And third day before the end of her first year of high school, she comes to me and she said, I've decided that my education is more important than, my social life. So therefore I want to go to a girls' school. I thought, great. Wednesday, you finish school Friday. I said, okay. So on the Thursday, made all the arrangements. Friday morning, she goes through, she has the interview, she gets accepted. Friday afternoon, she goes and she says bye to her friends. But this conversation that I'd been having with her was, very spasmodic.
Mm-hmm.
And it started when she was about 8, 9. And then by the time she was 12, she was ready for it.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Same thing with the guy with the yoga. You planted the seed and then there he was being a yoga teacher.
Exactly right.
I should watch what seeds you plant because they happen. Wow. Yeah, that was a truth that she resonated with, right? A truth that was there and then she became that truth. And I think that that's really important. And I feel like that's why we're very into studying intuition and being in our intuition is because we want to live our truth. We're not afraid of it anymore.
Yeah.
There was a period like about 15 years ago. I remember surveying my audience, my list, if they were afraid of their truth, and majority of them said they were.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think people are thirsting for it. They know that their truth is what they're meant to live, and it's not scary. It's something that is powerful and incredible. So I do find that. I also find I want to go back to one other thing you said and asked. I am coming out more with what I do. I'm starting to come out become more mainstream about it. I'm very practical. I'm very grounded. I'm not woo woo at all, right? I don't really like woo stuff. You've got to be able to, be grounded in it. And I'm really starting to talk to business owners about tapping into their intuition. And I'm finding so many people are thirsty for it. They're relating to it. So I think we're ready for this conversation. We're ready to live this and we're ready to live it in a grounded, practical way. My goal is to marry the practical with the spiritual and bring it together so that we are more whole in our existence.
Yeah, 100%. I've come from a science background, and although I used to see things and I've probably turned them off because I was scared of them.
Yeah.
To me, there has to be something that's solid. I've never been woo-woo. It's like going to a yoga class and people say, and twist so that you massage your bells. And you think, what are you talking about? It's like, and so therefore, to me, it has to have some substance. And even when I used to teach yoga, I bring clinical trials in because people have to realize that there is more to this than what this 3D reality and what we can actually see. And many people say, oh, I'm really good at it. Things just fall into place. And you think, do you think that you're just doing it by yourself, or do you think there is something else that's actually assisting here?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I stuck you in an electron microscope, the only thing I would see is molecules just everywhere. because you're not solid. Well,
Yeah.
at least depending on how much you get magnified. So it's that awareness for people to start opening up, trusting more, listening, that it's not woohoo. I mean, the lady who wrote Hands of Light, I can't remember her name for the life of me, but she used to work for NASA. She was
Mm.
a physicist.
Yeah.
And as a child, she grew in nature. And so therefore she was in touch with everything. And eventually she transitioned out. And again, she became, healing hands and taught people how to do it and the science behind it.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
it's amazing. So it's so good that people are starting to understand. Because I say to people, I mean, you're just a bunch of frequencies. And they look at you. I say, so I can hook you up and I can measure you. It's not something that it's just in my head.
Right.
And I said, every single word, thought, action carries a frequency. And the way you interact with someone else, they can have a really good day out of it or a really bad day out of it. Or the conversation or the words you say to them are enough to open up the whole life.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you were saying. You're starting to talk to people who are business owners who are very much left brain. I have to do this and this and this and this and this, but there's no time for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And they recognize that that's missing. I want to go back to something you said, and it was talking about everything is frequency. So it was just the way that you described that. And I'm just going to leave it alone because it's about astrology and about things that I don't really subscribe to, because you just said something about us all being frequency, and what our thoughts are create the life that we desire. Is that correct? Am I getting that right? So then
Basically.
so if something outside of us is telling us who we're meant to be, whether it's an astrology thing, and I'm not against it. I don't follow it because I don't like anything labeling me, or any of those tests that are very popular these days.
Yeah.
The labeling of those tests, that concerns me with people, because then they take on that identity and they don't allow their own identity to come forward.
Mm.
And I think we're talking a little bit, I think we have different approaches towards it, but we're talking about, in essence, how do we become fully who we're meant to be while we're here?
Yep.
And I think we're talking about like similar approaches, but different approaches on how to embrace that and do that.
Mm.
And I feel like with a lot of people too, especially business owners that have been doing it one way by the book, written something, a law that's given to them, this is how you do it. And they're finding themselves miserable in that experience. So now they're looking for their own wisdom to come through and guide their path. And that's, I think I just threw a lot of stuff in there, but I'm just going to leave it.
No, I agree. But to me, so you can correlate a frequency to a mood.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're stuck really low and you can't seem to get out of it, like depression,
Right.
like a lot of people who are depressed, but yet they're very high functioning.
Right.
So when you're depressed, you can't seem to find your joy in whatever it is that you're doing. Although from someone looking in, they think you've got a perfect life. You've got this and this and this and this. And you think, yeah, but I'm miserable on the inside. I'm just, going through the motions. And then as you become lighter, you can actually measure it, that you've got a higher frequency and things start to open up. You start to find joy. You start to find your meaning, your laughter, what the juices that you want to get up for in the morning, because it's great. I mean, what's going to happen today? Who knows? And there is a trajectory, like David Hawkins wrote about, how differently we vibrate. And like the Buddha is at 1,000, and there aren't many humans that are up there because, as you said, we've got one foot on the, yes, we have to do this. We're part of family. We're part of society. We eat, we breathe. And then you've got the higher self, which is the consciousness, the intuition, what you're hooked into. and we walked the path. Like my son wanted to go off to Nepal, go to a monastery and meditate. I said, that's great. But what happens when you come home? If you can reach that level here right now, it means that you can walk the path, like be part of the world and also be in tune with you so that you've got that, and get on with it, which is what you're teaching people. Does that make sense?
Completely. And I agree with that. And it's interesting because I had this very profound experience a few months ago, and it's something I've been teaching where I was listening to the guy who discovered Nike, who created Nike. And I was listening to his book. And he was talking about going around the world and all these spiritual places he went to and how this like really affected him in a positive way. And I was having a really rough day, a really rough moment. And I was walking in the woods listening to that. And I was like, and I'm not a big traveler. And I was like, well, I don't have to go to those places to have that experience. I can go in meditation and imagination in myself and connect into that energy and bring it here. And just at that moment, this entire higher consciousness challenge dropped into my system. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that for 30 days. And by the next day at like 8 a.m. in the morning, I had the profound shift. And I agree with you 1,000,000% that we don't have to go to those places to have that experience. We can have them right here. So my question would be though, when the person is really, really depressed, how do you, because I've had depression, so I know what depression is like. A lot of people relate, you've had it too. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
And how do you shift into the joy? And I think that's probably the tools and the techniques that both of us are teaching people as well on how to make that shift so that you could find your light again.
Yeah. And for me, it was, thankfully I had yoga at the time.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether I was feeling in the mood to do yoga, I would go to my mat, whether it was for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or just lying there trying to do a meditation because it's very trying. And so to me, it was always mechanical. So my daughter again, year 12, overwhelmed, too many choices. What am I supposed to do? I mean, this is a big decision. This is the rest of my life. And I kept saying to her, it's not. It's just the next stage. There'll be plenty of stages. I don't know what I want to pick, and it's this and this and this. I said, just leave it. And she got depressed. And the school is saying, oh, you poor thing, we'll work around you and, we'll do what you need. And I'm saying, no, she has to come to school. She has to put one foot in front of the other. Get up in the morning, go to school, have a shower, do whatever it is that you do, and you become mechanical. Until it doesn't have to be mechanical anymore. It just becomes, oh yeah, I'm getting up now and I'm going through and doing things and having those conversations and finding what makes you happy and understanding that where you're at right now is not fixed. You can change it any time you want. If it's not working, just try something else.
Yeah.
So you slowly start to get out of it until you wake up one morning, as you said, and you think, oh yeah, this is good. I like it.
Yeah. That's that identity piece that we're kind of touching on too, is that she identified with a depressed person. You kept her in movement so she could re-identify with something else, just make the movement, take the shower, get to school, do this, do that, which is really so great. So that she had to re-identify with another part of herself, with a motivated one, somebody in action, which is great.
Yeah. It didn't take her very long because they said, oh, we'll put you on antidepressants. I said, no, you're not. I mean, there is a place and a time for medication and Western medicine, but this wasn't it. You're talking about a 17-year-old. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? Every time something goes wrong, you grab a bottle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You gotta learn how to manage those moments for sure with tools and techniques, not just pills.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like you said, there's a time and a place for it for sure. And I agree with that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people that drink to excess, I mean, they're self-medicating.
Yeah.
find out what the root cause is. Try to work with it. Get someone to give you a hand. Don't go out with buddies that continue to drink because you're not going to change anything.
I gave up drinking almost 5 years ago. And I was thinking about this. My nervous system was so whacked out and I was in so much therapy. And no one ever made the connection that I was like, I knew I was self-medicating, but I didn't understand how bad my nervous system was traumatized, that the alcohol was the thing that I got used to, was the habit that wasn't good for me, but it was the thing that I needed in order to calm myself down. And so I could just say for the person who's drinking, we don't always have that awareness and consciousness of that's what we're doing. Like we go to the habit that's not working and just keep we think that's working or something. So, yeah, I find that interesting.
Yeah, because it's familial. It gets us out of that fear mode of facing life and reality so that we can take a step back. But to me, if you drink, it's like you're affecting your liver. For Chinese medicine, I tell people blood is where, so the liver is like a reciprocal of where your blood goes. And think of your liver as this big fluffy cloud where your spirit goes at night and it just covers itself up so it can go to rest.
I like that.
So a lot of people that have it, rely on that drink may not sleep as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because of those things. And so I think, don't you want to sleep in a nice fluffy cloud? And they go, oh, yeah. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that was one of the things. It's great. Like once you stop drinking, you're like, oh, I'm sleeping well. This is great.
Yeah. I don't know if people are worried, like you said, having someone else fix their problems for them, because there's no such thing.
Mm-hmm. No, there isn't.
No one can fix a problem except you. I don't want to be anybody's guru. I don't want anybody to follow me because they think that I'm going to provide the answers, because I won't.
Yeah.
I'll help you move through, but I'm not going to say, oh, you should be doing this and this and this and this. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So how do you work with someone to get them from where they are and, weave your magic to get them somewhere else?
It's a great question. There's a couple of ways. One, I do feel as a reader, if I'm doing a reading for someone, I have the ability, and I think a lot of people have this ability, but I have this ability of seeing the soul's path, the expansion that's available to them. And many times when I'm giving that information, I don't let people talk when they're in a reading. I don't know anything about them, and I just give them. And then when they get a chance to speak, they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's it. It's so great that they have that recognition. They hear it. But a lot, so then they get on a path. Like I always say, the reading's the beginning of the journey to figure out how to get there now. So then I can give them direction. For the people that work with me in my programs, they already have an idea of what it is that they desire. They're not there yet, but that's what they want. So my goal is to teach them techniques and tools that will help them to tap into the belief inside of them and continue to work that muscle so that they go through what they need to do in order to get the skills they need to be visible. A lot of them struggle with visibility, and they're getting out there with their message and their work because they have been taught so much to hide the truth of who they are. Now they're recognizing it within themselves, but now they have to get comfortable with going out into the world with people seeing it. So I teach them different types of ways to access that truth inside of them so that they can live it easily and more effortlessly. And it's too, obviously in this interview, it would be too hard to explain all of this, but
of course,
I teach people that they're the instrument. So you're the instrument. So if I'm teaching you how to clearly see clairvoyance, if I'm teaching you how to ignite a psychic gift, you're going to see different than I'm going to see no matter what. But I can give you the techniques and tools to open that gift within yourself so that you use it. So I'm teaching them also the symbolic language of their soul, which is how to everything in life is a symbol, and how to recognize those symbols and interpret them for yourself so that you're taking the right direction. You're walking through the right doors. I don't like right or wrong, so I have to be careful of that word, but you're taking the direction that's calling your heart and soul, and you're doing it, because you may go through that door and something may happen that is not what you were expecting and really disappointing, but that's exactly what's supposed to happen on the avenue, on the role of this journey. So yeah. So there's a lot that I teach in that area.
Yeah. So how did you recognize that there was a different path? Not that you should, but that you could be taking. Like some people that I see, they do the same thing over and over again and they get sick and nothing changes. We get them
Yeah.
better and they get sick. And it's always the same thing. I remember when I was fairly young, I said, the way you think is the way you are. Like women who would, this is not always the case, but sometimes that get breast cancer. It's about being a female, about owning the fact that you're a woman rather than shying away from it or being suppressed. There was a guy by the name of Gary Holtz. He ended up with MS. And he went through all this incredible journey with Aboriginals, and he found his higher self and became very intuitive and all the rest of it. And he had healing hands. So he would heal people. But the MS was as a result of him shutting down his emotions, because that's what MS is. You feel nothing.
Yeah.
And as he started to improve, although he never got out of his wheelchair, he had everything under control and he healed people. But the interesting thing was that he knew if he got out of that wheelchair, he would have gone back to being some sort of a space kind of an architect, which means he wouldn't have followed
His path,
his journey.
Yeah.
Right? So for you, has it been like, I tell people that, do something before a Mack truck comes your way and slaps you into doing what you're meant to be doing?
Yeah, I think that for me it was depression and sadness and not happy and crying every single day. I was working at NBC. They were so good to me. I had a great job. And I would close the door every single day to my office and just cry my eyes out. I was miserable. And I was doing so much internal psychological work on myself and trying to get out of it. And it was just horrendous. I didn't want to live. I didn't, I had suicidal thoughts. It was horrible. And then was in therapy, so they were helping me to do certain things. And I went to improv classes and luckily had this incredible acting coach, Sheila Gray in New York. She still does it. I started discovering parts of myself. I was waking up to who I really was and I started enjoying it. And that was what was helping me. And that has been in every iteration, I think, of my career. Like maybe not to that degree, because when I discovered my psychic mediumship ability, and I finally understood what I was meant to do to some degree, because I think it always evolves and grows, that need to leave this earth plane kind of shifted a lot, I wasn't like, I understood it now. I'm like, okay, so I can stay here for a bit. I can do this. I go through some type of hitting the wall, some type of sadness, down on my knees. But I have the techniques and tools now that doesn't take me out. I recognize it for what it is. It just happened 3.5 years ago. I had a very successful business doing what I was doing. And I was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it this way. And I shut the doors to things and everything crumbled down. And it had to. And it was a really difficult journey, but I had to honor the truth of myself. And then through that, I evolved into more of who I am and evolved more tools, more techniques that I can teach others now of how to do that so that they don't feel alone.
That's amazing. How long did it take you when you were working in NBC? May I say that a lot of people will say, you left your job at NBC? What were you thinking? But how long did... Wow, it's, it's some people's dreams. That's all they want to do.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. How long did it take you from the time, crying, shutting the door, just being in that, as Joseph Campbell would say, in the dip of it, for you to come out and start to recognize who you were?
It started, I was at another network in between NBC and MTV. So it started there for 8 months. I would say it took the length of the contract of NBC. So I was there for like a year and a half almost, but I had known that I was going into NBC as a bridge job. I call it a bridge job. It's the thing that pays the bills while you pursue your heart's desire. And I can speak so highly of that company and how they were to me, and they wanted to keep me. They just got the 12-year contracts for the Olympics, and they were trying to keep me for all that time. I just won an Emmy, it was like, and I was like, no, I'm going to go. So it took the whole period I was there, but I knew that I was working towards a goal and I was committed to the goal. Even when they presented me with the treasure chest of, here, you can have a job for a really long time. And I was like, no, I'm going to go do what my heart is telling me to do, So it took a bit.
That's amazing, because most people would look at it and think, oh, money, prestige, traveling all over the world. Like, that's everybody's dreams, for a lot of people. So taking you back to 3 years ago, how long did it take you this time to actually do the shift?
So the shift takes a shorter now, because I made a promise after I left NBC that I would never be miserable in a job again.
Oh.
And once I made that commitment to myself, as soon as I start becoming miserable, I shift. So I would say it maybe took about a year of consciousness I had a very successful membership with like over 400 people in it. So I had to I was shutting the doors to that. There was a lot of things that happened at once. My whole team fell apart. It was just gnarly. Other people came in. It was as anything. My mother died. My dog died. Like, so many things happened like during that period of time. But once I made the decision, I was journaling and I was like, I want to 10x my life. I need to change my life. I made the decision and that was it. Now, when we make those decisions, I know enough to surrender to the decision and to let things happen the way they need to. I think I've learned a lot from this one to not do it that way again, to be a little bit more strategic. But it took a bit, because I got to tell you, in all honesty, it was a real crumbling of my own identity. And I was burnt out. I was so burned out. I just couldn't even work anymore, like, to some degree. But I think it took quick to make the decision, but me learning about myself took a bit. But it was great because of who I became, or who I'm becoming, I should say, because I'm at the tail end of it. And I know that scares people. I want to say something real quick, because I know you want to say something. 3.5 years may really scare people. If what's on the other end of it is more of my wholeness and who I am and getting to do what I love to do, it's worth it. And during that period, I kept getting to do more and more and more of what I love to do, but I kept closing the door to things that I no longer wanted to do. Sorry, I just had to explain that.
No. That is brilliant. Thank you. To me, that's also a backtrack moment. It was like, that's enough. You're going down the wrong path, and it's like, woof. And it's almost like you get broken so that you can rise from the ashes like a phoenix, which is what you've done.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing, like you said, the things that will present themselves in the universe, in your physical life, in your dream life. And if you don't pay attention, it'll present itself in your physical body as well. So I learned that years and years and years ago. Well, I think what I want people to know, and I think you do too, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think there was a time, especially before 2020, there were too many spiritual teachers out there telling them once they decided on something, it was all bliss. It was all peacefulness. It was all happiness. It drives me nuts. And I want people to see the truth of what goes on, and to know that when you have the support, the spiritual support, the emotional support, you have your own support. Life can be so much easier, and easier in the sense of when things I don't even like using the word difficult, because it is what it is. My perception is so much it's so different now. And I got to say, solution comes in so much quicker. If I have a moment where I got I remember this happening with my mother's passing, so much happened around then, and I was freaking out about something. and it had to do with finances and a lot of stuff. And I got down on my knees and I did a prayer. And then I went for a walk and I was around horses and my dog and a hike, and the solution dropped in like 10 minutes later. And that's how quick it can happen if we stay conscious.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
When you have to get out of your way, just allow it to come in rather than trying to force something. Because the more we try to force something, the less it works. Like, I would have been 56 when I decided, I'm leaving engineering, going back to school full time. And it's like, what are you doing? And I said, I don't care. And it was a very difficult period in my life because I was also going through a divorce and, it's all those wonderful upheavals. But even today, I can find myself crying and it's like, oh, it's just too hard. Breathe. Just breathe. Go do yoga. Go for a walk. Do something. Get out of your head because we're human. If we're here for a human experience, then we get the gamut. And as you said, we move through it quicker, but it doesn't mean that we still don't think, oh, okay, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Because things always change. And there isn't such a thing as, oh, it'll be bliss for the rest of your time. No, it could be bliss for 5 minutes or less.
Yeah. And
You
I
know?
think when you have that attitude that you understand that, it does become a sense of bliss in a way, because even the trying moments, I call them character building moments. It's building some type of character in me so that it's preparing me for the bigger and greater thing.
Yeah.
I think when you
And you
shift
think,
that,
and you think, what's the bigger thing that what you're going to do next? It's like, when I was at uni, it was like, and high school, everybody had their ideas because back in the 70s, it was very fixed. You do this, then this, then this, then this. And there was no such thing as taking time out. No, you're not taking time out. You're going to uni. And it's like, okay. And they had planned what their life was going to be, and it was happening. And I thought, I'll try this. So I plan it, and it's like, no, that's not what you're doing. And it's like, why? Everybody else is doing it. Why can't I? No, that's not what's happening with you. Off you go. And you think, yeah.
it's so true. And then
And
you're, I know. Okay, why was I always like being called to something else, Why was I always the one who was diving deep into myself and trying to figure things out? And, but it's a richer life to some degree, at least for me.
Oh, I absolutely agree. It's like, I remember walking into my old work because after about being away for 14 years, I took a contract. Money, what can I say? And I walked in and this room was filled with exactly the same people sitting in exactly the same seat, doing exactly the same thing. And I'm going, whoa.
Yeah.
Because it was during COVID. So, I couldn't do much. I couldn't continue studying or anything else. So I went back to being an essential service worker and I could move around. But it was just so interesting. As you said, some people are still there. And 40 years later, they're still living in the same house. And then they die. And you think, what do you do in between?
Yeah. I know. I remember having that experience when I left. So I left MTV, NBC, became an actress, and then I got miserable in the play I was in. So I left it. And everybody's like, what are you doing? And then MTV brought me back in to do some freelance work because they would let me audition and go to acting classes, and they were paying me really well. They were very good to me. And I remember walking into the building and on the floor and being like, oh, this feels like the land of lost dreams. Like I could feel, and this isn't for everybody there because really beautiful souls in that place, but I could feel a lot of the people that were tied to their cubicle, they didn't want to be there. They were doing something that they thought they had to do because they couldn't do the thing they really wanted to do. And I had that experience of like, this is not what I want. Like, I don't want to get lost in this again. I want to make sure that I'm always honoring who I am and my path and myself. And it's not always easy, as you and I both know. And you need to pay the bills,
Exactly right. So it's interesting that you said that, you could see the people in the cubicles, but like you, these people were happy. Were they happy because that's all they knew and they were quite content in their life and, trying to solve problems? Or was it because they didn't know any better? Now, some of the people I work with, they had like a double life. Because of their background, they would have, their rituals and their spiritual richness. So for them, work was exactly that: going, doing the left brain thing, getting money, getting the kids through school. But they also had their inner life and they were happy with this balance. Other people didn't have their inner life. And so they didn't know any better. And you'd have conversations with them. And there's a lot of things you can't say because you
Yeah.
can't say, being present and consciousness. And I say, well, if you're there in the moment, when you put your keys down, when you get home, you'll find them again because you'll remember because you were there when you put them down.
Yeah.
Whereas some other words you can't use because it's like, okay, I don't think you're quite there. So there is that planting of the seed and seeing them if they do change. And some people do and some people don't because society pushes us into this channel to do, to be, to make without that fluidity sometimes.
Yeah. I don't even know that a lot of them were happy. But my question now is, you live in Australia, right?
Yes.
So culturally, it's also different. Tell me if I'm wrong, in Australia versus the United States. Because I wonder if United States shows more freedom in terms of choosing paths. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I come from Argentina. So to me, the States was always like, oh my God, I want to speak like an American because I'd learned to speak English from a very young age. And I thought the States were great until my girlfriend came to Australia after we were away from each other for about 10 years. And she was so different. It was all about the look, about being in the right club, about being seen by the right people, about what you were going to be doing. And it was like, I thought, what happened to you? It's almost like the soul changed.
Mm.
Here, you can also do whatever you want, very similar to the States, except we don't have some of the rules that belong to the state that here are quite legal. Like terminating a life and all sorts of other things, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, it's up there. But here they seem to bow to different cultures.
Mm.
So being a local almost seems like we have less rights than those that come in here because we have to make allowances for them. Whereas I think the States is the other way around.
Mm.
They are who they are, and all those that come in have to abide and live according to American rules. It's almost like we haven't been given the right to be who we are, that we have to always worry about others rather than everybody just being here and just getting on with it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was just curious about that because, again, we're talking about identity. So I identify as, who am I identifying as and who am I allowed to be and who am I not allowed to be and how am I going to be? Am I going to be accepted this way or not accepted this way? And, I come from a family that's brothers are not very accepting about what I do. So I was just curious about the culturally. I mean, I'm Italian descent. Like I think these are all the things that people have to acknowledge and battle and then identify with who they really want to be. And that's it. So I think that's what we're saying down the line.
Yeah, exactly. You have to decide and you just have to move forward. This country started by convicts. because that's what England did. They got rid of a lot of their convicts and shipped them off to Australia, and that's how Australia was colonized.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So when you think of the energetics of
Yeah.
those people, it's a very mishmash kind of a joint. Because in Argentina, having come from Buenos Aires, there's the Italians, the Germans, the everything that's there. And to me, I never felt segregated because it was just normal. Like my mother did her schooling in Hungary, my father did his schooling in Italy. They were both born in Argentina. They left, they came back, got married. And it was just normal to hear different languages being spoken. Whereas here it was like, if you speak a different language, people had a tendency to raise their voices because you must be deaf because you can't understand it. So therefore you can't hear it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That is funny. Yeah.
So one thing as a takeaway, what would you like to let people know?
Follow their truth.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, I'd love that actually. But thank you. Yeah, I was like, there's so many. But really, I think for me, it was following my truth. So I feel for people, it's following their truth. Learn what your truth is. I've been in therapy for on and off for many, many years, but I put myself back into it like 3.5 years ago, I believe. And that was my biggest question to the therapist. I was interviewing a lot of them to try to find the right one. And I was like, I want to find my truth. I need someone to reflect back my truth. I need someone to be a witness to my truth. And I feel like that is the answer for all of us. So we need the techniques and tools that navigate us back to our truth, not all the truths that have been laid upon us. That's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And finding the person that's going to keep you honest.
Yeah.
Instead of telling you what you think you want to hear.
Totally. You always have to be careful of any type of teaching that's going to tell you become dominion over your own soul, tell you what to do, tell you how to be. I'm very weary of anybody who's like that. Of course, if I'm going to somebody to learn something as a mentor, by all means, teach me things or show me things, or even with therapists, I was very, very clear with them that because I'd had a really bad experience with a very domineering therapist, I was very clear with them that was not going to be the relationship. Like I was going in with my power. And most of them were really fine with it. They were good with it. So if there was something I didn't agree with and I said it, I was open enough to discussing why I disagreed with it. But they were also open enough to hear that and not have ego around it. So yeah, I think that's very important.
Yeah, that's good. Because some people I have come across have said, well, no, try it my way. And I think, but it doesn't work for me.
No.
But try it my way because it'll be really good. You'll learn something. And I think, well,
No. The only time I allow that is with my tennis coach because there are certain techniques that he's definitely more right about than me. He's been doing it longer and he's got the forehand topspin down. Yeah, no, I've never been good with somebody telling me what to do with it. I think that's when I get even more defiant. Doesn't mean I don't get confused in my head. Are they right? Are they right? Not anymore. I'm really starting to get very clear about who I am. Thankfully.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marilyn, for the time we've spent together. I think it's been amazing. Yeah, like I'd love to keep in touch if you're open to it.
Yes.
We'll see where life takes us.
Yeah, and I do have a couple of things that you'll link down below that'll help people to find their own truth. I hope that we can do that too.
That'll be brilliant. I mean, the more people that we can lift either consciously from the frequency of finding themselves, which really they're just different words for the same thing.
Yeah.
The better off humanity is going to be.
Yes, I agree. Good. So, thank you.
Thank you. All the very best. That was amazing. Thank you.